It was just a power
Thank
bump.
you. And they're all in
Just a
order.
bump.
Yeah. Thank
Well,
you.
I think it was big enough. If it killed the internet, it was
good?
big enough.
All right. It's November 14th. I'll call the budget meeting of council to order at 6:02 p.m. We're going to have an opening statement from our CEO, Kinza Barney.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. So last evening, administration presented council with the draft 2025 interim operating budget. And this evening's presentation will focus on the proposed capital plan for 2025 as drafted by administration. All items that are presented with an identified funding source are included in the budget, and those noted as unfunded, there should be a total of 6 of them in the package, are not included in the budget that's being presented. At the conclusion of this evening's discussion, administration will be seeking direction from council on any additions or removals council wishes to see to the proposed operating and capital budget as presented. That means that council may vote to remove an item that has been included, or they may vote to add an item that has not been included. Following the conclusion of this evening's meeting, administration will compile the final interim budget report that will come to council for approval on next Tuesday, November 19th. It is our intent that any adjustments required to either the operating or capital budgets is determined through a motion of council by the end of this evening's meeting. And I will now pass it over, or pass it back to the mayor, I guess, who will likely pass it on to our CFO for the presentation.
Okay, I'm going to pass it on to our CFO, Amber. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mayor Harris, and good evening, council. Oh, going the wrong direction. So tonight's agenda will cover the capital budget presentation, followed by the budget impact of both 2025 operating and capital budget. So the capital.
Amber, sorry, just before you start.
Yep.
Councillor Brennan and Councillor Vang, if you want to adjust your seats so you can see, you can go ahead.
Looking back and forth isn't too bad, but
You're okay?
yeah,
It's all good.
All right.
appreciate the thoughts.
Sorry, Amber, go ahead.
Thank you. The capital portion of the budget package begins on page 47. I'll guide you to that section of the package. The capital budget is a critical component of the town's financial plan, guiding the allocation of resources and for investments in infrastructure, assets that support the growth, safety, and quality of life for the community. The 2025 capital budget outlines funding for new construction, maintenance, and replacement of municipal assets, including roads, public buildings, utilities, parks, recreational amenities, and equipment and asset assessments to support future investment strategies and decisions. The projects that form the 2025 capital budget have been separated into categories that provide greater clarity on their purpose. These categories include asset replacement, the process of removing and replacing aging, obsolete, or non-functional assets with new ones to maintain operational efficiency and avoid failure or downtime. Asset maintenance refers to the ongoing activities and tasks aimed at preserving, repairing, or servicing existing assets, such as equipment, buildings, or infrastructure, to ensure they remain functional, safe, and efficient over their useful life. Asset improvements involves making enhancements or upgrades to existing assets to improve their performance, extend their lifespan, or meet new requirements. Asset assessment, the process of evaluating the condition, value, and performance of assets and services to inform decision-making. This assessment helps identify needs for maintenance, improvement, replacement, or investment. New assets. This refers to newly acquired or constructed assets that are added to the organization's portfolio. And finally, new programs and initiatives, the introduction of new strategies, projects, or services within an organization. So funding for the capital plan, funding allocated to support the continued maintenance of town infrastructure accounts for 91% of the total capital budget, while the remaining 9% focuses on the addition of new capital assets. These investments collectively have long-term benefits to the town and are considered outside of the day-to-day operating budget. Our capital planning process considers both immediate priorities and the projected demands of future growth. In this budget cycle, we have outlined specific projects that are scheduled to begin or continue over the next 10 years. Funding sources for these initiatives include provincial and federal grants, reserves, and other funding tools, with a commitment to maintaining a sustainable debt level. The town seeks to utilize funding sources that minimize the overall impact to on the community and supports the financial sustainability of the organization. The capital funding breakdown by type for the 2025 capital budget is noted in the figure on the screen. CCBF, or the Canada Community Building Fund, is federal funding that is flowed through the provinces, who in turn distribute the funding to their communities. The program provides conditional grants for capital-related projects which meet program eligibility criteria, such as essential infrastructure projects like roads and bridges, drinking water and wastewater infrastructure, and recreational facilities. CCBF funds are distributed on a per capita basis, with each community receiving a base funding amount. Crossfield's 2024 CCBF funding was just under $260,000. The town of Crossfield also has previously allocated CCBF grant funds that will be utilized in 2025 to fund critical wastewater infrastructure upgrades. In total, CCBF funding accounts for 41% of the 2025 capital budget. LGFF. This is the Local Government Fiscal Framework. It's Alberta's primary funding mechanism for providing local governments with predictable infrastructure grant support. Local governments determine projects and activities to be funded by LGFF based on local priorities, with the general qualification criteria set out in the program guidelines. The town's anticipated 2025 LGFF allocation is $618,196, approximately 11% higher than in the 2024 allocation. LGFF accounts for 19% of the capital budget funding, and combined LGFF and CCBF fund 60% of the capital budget. Long-term debt. This is borrowing plan to allow for the purchase the replacement of fire engine 155. Annual debt payments are based on a 5-year blended amortization term available to local government through the Alberta government. At the time the estimate was prepared, the interest rate was 4.2%. In comparison, the interest rate for a 5-year fixed term loan from a local lender is approximately 5.37%. Long-term debt accounts for 8% of capital funding. Reserves. Reserves provide the financial resources required to maintain a viable, sustainable community. They consist of funds set aside by the town to protect against unforeseen events, enable the town to invest in long-term infrastructure projects that support proper asset management and future sustainability. The 2025 capital budget is reserve funded in the amount of $1,023,900, which is less than the operating contributions to reserve recommended in the 2025 operating budget. It's just over $1.2 million. Reserves account for 31% of the capital funding. And there's a little slice of that pie dedicated to other funding, which is possible community donations or fundraising or funding from other interested party sources. This funding source accounts for approximately 1% of the capital budget. On page 53 of the package, the prioritization matrix is presented. Each of the capital projects that follow have been categorized based on the prioritization matrix. Project should meet most, but not necessarily all of the identified criteria. Priority 1 is required to address urgent infrastructure issues or critical town needs. Required to sustain access to essential services, quality of life, or public safety. Address legal risks, environmental concerns, or support mitigation of potential liabilities. Required to meet operational needs and or maintain existing service levels. The community has demonstrated strong support. And funding is within the town's financial capacity and or it can be supported through grants or other partnerships. Priority 2. Supports community and or infrastructure needs, however, can be delayed up to 2 years without significant risk. Improves access to essential services, quality of life, and public safety. Supports liability mitigation, an area of interest for the community, and funding may exceed the town's financial capacity and or can be supported through other means. And finally, priority 3. Supports operational efficiencies and or addresses a community desire. Improves access to essential services, quality of life, or public safety. May support liability mitigation. Community support is unclear. Funding exceeds the town's financial capacity and no other means are available and not identified as a core municipal function. So on page 54, we start to describe the asset or the projects that are included in the 2025 budget. The first section are asset replacement projects. And for descriptions of the project, you can flip to page 61, and that's where the project sheets begin for this asset category. Park sign replacement program. This project would see the completion of the park sign replacement program that started in 2024 by replacing the sign in Veterans Peace Park and installing new sign in Amory Park, which currently does not have a sign. The decision was made in 2024 to replace these signs with materials that require less maintenance and to provide improved longevity, while also providing a consistent theme throughout the town. Initially, administration anticipated that these signs would cost a fairly significant amount of money. Therefore, it was originally planned, it was originally put forward as a 4-year project, completing 2 to 3 signs per year at a cost of approximately $100,000 per year. However, when the project went out to quote, the pricing came back much lower than expected. As such, the town was able to install 6 signs in 2024. Those signs are located in McCaskill Park, Murdoch Park, Banta Park, Walker, Weigel Park, and Crockett Park, leaving only the 2 signs noted previously to be completed in 2025. To ensure consistency, administration will be using the same contractor who built the signs in 2024, and the park sign replacement is funded by reserve. Westgate Estates fence. This project started in 2024 also. However, due to increasing costs, the town was unable to complete the entire project. The fence west of Stephen Street has been completed, while the section from Stephen Street to the east was not completed. The remaining project budget will be carried forward into 2025, and administration requests an additional $20,000 to complete the project. The Westgate fence replacement is funded by reserve. Water meter replacement. This program is a proactive initiative that focuses on replacing existing outdated water meters with modern, efficient models that provide precise reading and support advanced monitoring capabilities. This project began in 2022, and more than 99% of the residential water meters have been replaced. The replacement of water meters for the remaining 93 commercial and industrial properties within town will commence in 2025. The remaining 2024 budget will be carried forward, and an additional $40,000 is required to complete this project. This program is part of the municipality's commitment to delivering high-quality water services, conserving resources, and supporting sustainable community growth. The water meter replacement project is funded through reserves. Water and wastewater main replacement. This annual program identifies and replaces priority sections of water and wastewater systems that are in poor condition or require upgrades to maintain service levels. Identification and prioritization of projects under the program is informed by the town's utility master plans, asset management program, and engineering assessments. This is an adjustment to the existing annual wastewater main upgrade program to also support water main upgrades. This is funded through LGFF grant. Hydrant replacement. This program focuses on the replacement of aging hydrant infrastructure prioritized for replacement based on the hydrant's age, condition, location, and usage history, with special attention to critical infrastructure areas such as schools and high-density neighborhoods. This program is aimed at maintaining the reliability and functionality of the town's fire hydrant network. This program replaces outdated or damaged hydrants to ensure consistent high-pressure water availability for firefighting, safeguarding the public and property, and supporting property protection. This project is funded through reserves. Water valve replacement. This program prioritizes valves for replacement based on the age, condition, and criticality within the system, with emphasis on high usage areas and valves with a history of issues. This is a proactive program focused on maintaining the integrity and functionality of the town's water distribution system. This program targets the replacement of aging or deteriorating water valves, ensuring efficient flow control, minimizing service disruptions, and supporting emergency response capabilities for water system maintenance. This is funded in a combination of LGFF and reserve funding. Backhoe loader replacement. The procurement of a new backhoe loader to replace the town's current aging 2007 JCB backhoe loader. The town's backhoe loader is one of the most used pieces of equipment in the fleet. It is used for a variety of tasks, including moving snow, offloading pallets, digging graves, and other digging tasks. The hydraulic system was replaced in 2023. However, it is expected these hydraulic issues will continue to reoccur due to the equipment's age. At 17 years old and with more than 6,600 hours of operation, it is proposed to replace the town's backhoe loader. This is also funded through a combination of LGFF reserve, funds and reserve. Fire engine 155 replacement. Replacement of the engine 155, which has come to its retirement age of 25 years in service, was originally approved by council in 2020 in the 2024 capital budget as a lease to own option for a used apparatus called a Quint was being returned to the manufacturer by another municipality. This original project was proposed at a total cost of $990,000 and spread over a 5-year term, resulting in $198,000 per year over that 5-year period. Unfortunately, the opportunity did not come to fruition as the municipality decided to keep the unit. Thus, administration has been working throughout 2024 to find a suitable alternative. Due to the limited availability of viable used apparatus and the volatility of the market, administration presented a new direction to council at the September 17th regular council meeting to proceed with a new custom chassis cab-over engine as a replacement. This would come at a total cost of approximately $1.15 million plus tax and borrowing costs over the 5-year term, with a final payout of $115,000 in the 6th year. This concept was supported by council with a direction to bring the project back during budget deliberations. Since the project update provided at September 17th council meeting, administration has found a viable used unit that with some improvements will satisfy our operational needs. It is a 2016 custom fire TME pumper engine with a total cost of, including GST, $920,462. With this unit being 9 years old in 2025, it will give us 16 years of serviceable life, taking us to the year 2041. As we are not able to proceed until final approval through council, we may miss out on the opportunity to purchase this used unit. Therefore, the cost presented in this request remain based on new stock unit that was available when it was presented at council in September. A 10% contingency has been added to those numbers to account for possible inflationary increases as well as changes in the Canadian US dollar exchange rate, as these units are imported from the United States.
Now, don't buy anything today then.
Oh, it's not a good day.
It's not a good day.
Oh,
I know.
that being said, administration will work to find the most economical solution that will fit the town's needs. Of further note, once a replacement unit is secured, administration will work to sell engine 155. Proceeds from the sale will be placed in a reserve to support future equipment or apparatus purchases. This project will be funded by debt. And the final asset replacement project is the wastewater main capacity upgrade. And this one-time project will identify and construct a section of wastewater main to improve capacity in the conveyance system to support further growth for the town. The town's engineering consultant has determined that a section of wastewater main along Lot Avenue is at or near capacity, and the action is required to improve capacity within the conveyance system. Administration is working with the engineering consultant to determine the preferred location to construct the wastewater main, considering the needs of ongoing and future development. Design, tendering, and construction activities to occur in 2025, and this will be funded through the existing CCBF grant funds that the town currently holds.
Okay. Let's stop maybe at each section. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, great. And I think we'll just talk about each section at a time. Any questions for Amber on any of the items that you might have?
Through the chair.
Councillor Lambert.
When we're talking about this fire truck, it says that with some improvements, do we know how much those improvements are going to be? I mean, that's going to be significant to deciding whether to buy a used truck or buy a new truck, if those improvements are going to bring those costs close together.
Through the chair, I'm going to ask Director Nash, R. Nash, to respond to that question.
No, I'd actually want L. Nash to try and answer.
Thank you. Through the chair to Councilor Lambert. The improvement costs are included in that, already included in that price that was noted within the description of $920,462.
Oh, okay, so the improvements are already in that.
It's already in that, yeah.
Okay.
If you'd like to know the total cost of those improvements, it's about $58,000 for
Okay.
those improvements.
And may I ask, this is coming from this, is it a used vehicle from a department in the state?
Correct.
How far south?
Northern states.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've had issues with Texas.
Yes. No, this one is coming from
They
northern.
don't
a
come
northern
with block
state.
heaters.
Oh, some places don't.
Yeah.
That could be one of the improvements. I don't know. All right, any other questions?
Through the chair. So Russ, does that include the exchange rate? Is
Correct.
that with the exchange rate?
That's with the exchange rate at I want to say $1.40. I've got it here in front of me.
It's low today.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, $1.40. So I understand at this time that may have gotten worse. So but anyway, that's at $1.40.
Okay, I was just curious. Through the chair, I have a question on another topic. So the fence that is being replaced in the Westgate area, what is the material that's being used? Is it a better material this time for longevity?
Thank you. Through the chair, Councillor Fox. I don't have details on the material specifically. I believe it is a wood type material similar to the previous fence.
Mhm.
Or Director Nash.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Steve. I do believe the original fence was constructed of just regular spruce. This is being constructed with treated lumber this time,
Oh,
so
this
it
is
should
good.
have better longevity than the previous.
Get a few more years out of it this time.
Okay, any other questions?
Through the chair.
Counselor Brennan.
Just to add to the question that Councillor Fox stole from me.
Sorry.
Was anything considered as far as like the vinyl type that the neighboring like the neighboring
Vista across the
Vista
street?
has?
Yeah.
Yeah, something
Mhm.
like that. 'Cause I think those are built to last as far as that. I know it's quite a bit more costly though.
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Brennan. It wasn't considered at the time that this project was put forth, but it was considered at one time, I want to say probably back in before 2020, I think it was. It was looked into the cost of that, and I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but it was very expensive. It's a concrete
Right.
fence, actually, that one is.
Yeah.
So it was looked at, but the costs were substantial at that
Okay.
time. So
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think, yeah, in future, maybe even with when we do actual sound fences backing onto roads like that, we may be able to change those standards. But for tonight, it's a wooden fence.
Thank you.
Great. I'm just curious, Director Nash, just about the sign replacement. We have $44,000 in here. Is that the actual cost of signs based on what we spent per sign in 2024?
thank you, Mayor Harris. It is slightly higher than what we paid in 2024 to try and account for possible inflation increases. So it was bumped up slightly.
Okay, thank you. And then just, I just want to make two overall comments. One, just on some of the timelines that I see on some of the projects. Some of them expand for a year and I can get maybe some of them doing that, but I think moving forward, if we can get tighter timelines on all of the capital projects, that would be helpful. And also, I'm only going to say this once or ask it once overall. With all the projects, we will be trying to leverage grants wherever we can on some of the projects. So for example, down the road, when we get to say even the wastewater and those types of things, we'll apply for grants that match up and align with them. When it comes to recreation things, we'll try and align with grants and leverage our dollars that way. Okay, that's the last time I'll ask that. Thank you.
Agreed.
All right. Any more questions on that item? Okay, moving on.
Okay, then. The next asset category is asset maintenance. The table is located on page 55 and the project description sheets begin on page 81 for this category. The first asset maintenance project that we have before you tonight is the sidewalk replacement program. This existing annual program identifies and replaces sidewalks that have experienced significant wear or damage due to aging, tree root intrusion, weather impact, or general use. Inspections are conducted each year and replacement prioritization is based on safety and accessibility needs. Prioritized areas include those with high pedestrian traffic, proximity to schools, parks, commercial areas, and residential neighborhoods. This project is reserve funded. The asphalt overlay program. This existing annual program resurfaces asphalt roadways that are in poor condition. Roads are prioritized on factors such as pavement condition assessments, traffic volume, and resident feedback. Funding is split between reserves and CCBF grant funding. Pathway replacement. This program supports annual upkeep of the town's pathway system, ensuring it is properly maintained and in safe condition. The 2025 funding would be used to replace a section of the pathway on the south side of the same lagoon along Western Drive. That pathway replacements were performed in 2024. Much like the section that was replaced in 2024, this portion of the pathway is also being damaged by roots from the poplar trees. Pardon me, I lost my space here. Just give me a second. Thank you. That were planted beside the pathway. Thus, we will also have root barrier installed as part of this project. This project is reserve funded. Replacing the hall kitchen grease trap. This project would replace the existing in-floor grease trap with an above-floor unit. To accommodate this project, some kitchen cabinets will need to be removed, flooring will need to be removed, and concrete cut away to expose and reroute the existing plumbing. Conversely, the cabinets will have to be reinstalled, concrete subfloor will have to be replaced, and tile flooring will be replaced also. This project could take up to 2 weeks to complete and will require the kitchen to be closed. Thus, the timing for this project will be determined at a time that will minimize the impact to various users of the community hall. And this work is funded through reserves. Effluent storage cell invasive species response. So the final project in our asset maintenance category. This project involves the eradication and disposal of aquatic invasive species within the town's treated effluent storage pond. The town is working with Alberta Environment and Protected Areas, as well as federal agencies, to develop a response plan. The intent is to retain a licensed applicator to apply rotenone. That's the first time I said that word, so thank you for that. A pesticide to eradicate the invasive species within the pond. Fish are typically disposed in a landfill post-treatment. This will be reserve funded. Break for comments.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions for Amber on asset maintenance for sidewalk replacements and
Through the chair,
asphalt? Councillor Brennan.
have we gotten any word as far as if there will be some kind of line of support for that effluent storage cell invasive species response?
To the chair to Councillor Brennan, none as of yet.
I wish she would have lied. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on those?
No, you stole my question this time.
Okay. Moving on.
Okay, asset improvements. The table is on page 56 of the package, and project sheets begin on page 93. Effluent disposal strategy. This project will develop and implement an interim strategy to increase the town's ability to dispose of treated effluent. Of primary consideration is the installation of additional pivots to increase disposal of treated effluent through irrigation. This project is funded through CCBF. Diamond 2 outfield fencing. In spring 2024, administration received a request from residents along McCaskill Drive to mitigate home run balls coming from the baseball diamond, Diamond 2, from hitting vehicles and yards across the street. To address this in the short term, adult slow pitch teams were scheduled on other diamonds. However, with growing interest in baseball and adult recreational slow pitch, limiting diamond space will not suffice in the long term. This project will see the installation of a taller outfield fence on the west side of Diamond 2. This will involve removal of 255 feet of existing 4-foot chain link fence and replacing it with a 12-foot high chain link fence. Approximately half of this outfield fence will be replaced, as the northwest north portion will not impact local residents if balls are hit out of the field in that direction. Further to this upgrade, trees have also been planted along the section between the outfield fence of Diamond 2 and McCaskill Drive. Along with beautifying the area, these trees will help stop baseballs from going beyond the boulevard. The Slow Pitch Group has indicated that they are interested in working with the town to provide some funding for this project. Reserves and possible other funding are used for this, or recommended for this project. Amory Park Outdoor Rink Upgrade. In the 2024 capital budget, administration put forward a project to upgrade the outdoor rink in Amory Park, as it required new puckboard and repairs to the frame. However, when proceeding with the project, it was discovered that the framing was in worse condition than originally thought. As such, it was decided to hold off making these repairs so that additional funds could be secured to complete the upgrades properly. The project will involve dismantling the existing outdoor rink, installing new posts and framing, and installing new chain link at the ends with additional supports to keep it from bending and breaking, installing new puckboard that is appropriate for outdoor use, and additional gates for users and maintenance equipment. The project is estimated to cost $150,000, with an additional 15% contingency added for a total of $172,500. In 2024, there was $79,500 allocated and approved for upgrades to this facility. With these funds being carried forward in 2025, administration would be requesting an additional $93,000 to complete this project. In the meantime, repairs have been made to keep the facility functioning through the coming winter. These repairs will include replacing puckboards as it breaks, pushing posts down that have heaved, and repairing supports that may have broken, and replacing bolts and screws that have sheared off due to heaving. The additional request for $93,000 is currently not funded in the 2025 capital budget. A 3-inch barrel fill line at the bulk water station. This includes the installation of a 3-inch barrel fill line and associated piping, along with the shutoff valve at the bulk water station, and all required adjustments to the metering and billing systems. This installation would see the system set up so that customers could select their preferred supply height. This is not currently funded in the 2025 capital budget. The final project in the asset improvement category is the RV dump station. The implementation of a user pay system for the RV dump station, including installation of a user pay station and automatic locking dump station lid controlled by the pay station. This is currently not funded through the 2025 capital budget. I'll pause there for questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Amber. Questions for Amber on this page? Mr. Gustafson.
Through the chair. Going back to the first one there,
To which one?
to the first one, which is the disposal strategy, effluent disposal strategy.
Yeah.
This is just to pay a contractor to figure out how we need to come up with a plan. Is that what it is for?
Through the chair to Councillor Gustafson, I will defer to Director Altina for this answer.
Thank you, Amber. Through the chair to Councillor Gustafson. The intent is there'll need to be some engineering involved in this, and then there would be funds to install another irrigation pivot as well. So it'd be to design and implement an additional system to dispose of more treated effluent.
Through the chair, is some of that funds allocated for actual pivot itself, or is it just allocated for the strategy?
For the pivot as well.
Oh, for the pivot as well. Okay. So the pivot, the pivot that we just put, or that we put in just lately, it wasn't quite big enough for what? Or we have extra capacity to put another pivot in the same land?
There's additional capacity in the quarter section to the south of the lagoon.
Okay,
Which
fair
the
enough.
town,
Yeah.
which the town also owns. It is in
Okay.
Rocky View County, to install an additional pivot.
Awesome, okay.
Yeah, we're currently in deficit right now. We're contributing more wastewater to the facility than we can than it can hold, and that we can dispose of. So installing an additional pivot will help, balance out that deficit, and also should help support additional growth on an interim basis until a long-term solution can be implemented.
I have one question about the existing pivot. Do we know how much is metered through that right now, and is it running to capacity?
Through the chair to Councillor Gustafson, I don't have the numbers from 2024 just yet. We do rely on our leaseholder to provide us the hours that the pivot runs, and then we know the volume that it does run, but it's something I could certainly share with council once I do have the numbers.
Yeah, I guess my concern was, are we putting something in there that, are we running our current pivot to its maximum potential to help draw down, you know where I'm getting with this, right?
Yeah, and no,
Okay.
that's a very good point. And some of those funds go to establishing what the water balance is with the facility and what we're running our current pivot at. It'll also look at an irrigation plan, which looks at meteorological data and, you know, crops that are going to be used and how most efficiently to irrigate the land to dispose of as much, you know, effluent as possible. If it turns out that our single pivot is doing a great job and we have, you know, 2 or 3 years of growth, maybe we don't go ahead and install that other pivot.
Yes.
But if we do need to install another pivot and we say, you know, wow, we're right at our max here, there is funds in there to go ahead and start that work next year.
Fair enough, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Great. Other questions? Here. Director Nash, a question for you. The Amory Park outdoor rink upgrade. So we all know that originally it wasn't really built to standards, and that's where it's led us to today. Was it us as a town that built and managed that project, or was it the developer?
To Mayor Harris, it was the town who built that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the rink itself was installed by the developer as a facility that would be put up and taken down every year. And then I don't know where the talks came from or how they came about, but it ended up being that, well, we'll take that and we will make it a year-round facility. And so when it was constructed, unfortunately, it just wasn't constructed to the standard that it likely should have been.
That's right. And even with your 2024 money, you won't be able to complete the project in 2025. And that is going to lead to some difficulties in completing the entire project at the same time.
Yeah, sorry. Could you repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah, so you have some 2024 money that carries forward, but that's not enough to complete the project for what you need to do.
Right.
And so really
Essentially.
with the money you have, it's really just a Band-Aid for now until you get the rest of the money to fix the entire project.
Right. And if we don't kind of do it all at once, we likely wouldn't spend the existing 2024 money. We would probably look to try and hold that to a time when we could get the additional funds, because if we put that money into it, it's probably going to have to come out anyway. So it just doesn't make sense.
That's right. Yeah, I agree. We need that. So I see this one currently is unfunded. So I would like to make a motion in the capital budget. Move to add Amory Park outdoor rink upgrade in the amount of $93,000 to the 2025 capital budget. And at this time, I think we can have some discussion on the motion. Councillor Brennan.
Through the chair. So it won't be ready for this season though. No. Okay. That's the only thing.
But if
Still
we
worth
don't
it.
fund it in its entirety, it may not be ready for 2026 either.
Yeah, no, still worth it. just for my own clarity.
Counselor Bang, any questions or comments?
Not this time, no.
Deputy Mayor.
It makes sense to me to fund the whole project now rather than just keep putting Band-Aids on it because it'll cost more in the long run.
Okay, Counselor Lambert.
Has anyone approached Dream to see, I mean, it's an asset for them to have a rink in there. Oh, somebody's got kids that like to play hockey, like to skate. I think, I mean, I don't oppose it. I think it's an asset. But I do think that Dream could become a good corporate citizen.
No, and I would be in agreement with you, for sure. And I think that, you know, we put the funding in there and if we approve it, then we give Dream an opportunity to come in and help out. Counselor Gustafson.
I wholeheartedly agree with
Yeah.
my colleague on this. Is I think we do what we need to do tonight and then approach Dream and say, hey, can you at least like maybe split the difference with us?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we don't ask you to pay for the whole thing, but you know, some of the things that there were some deficiencies on before that were unforeseen, that we certainly ask them for a little bit of help.
Exactly.
You know, they've been able to enjoy the fruits of their labor in our community. So certainly let's ask for a little bit of help this time.
Perfect. So we'll trust that administration
Yes.
leverages our dollars in the best way possible. All right. We have a motion on the floor, so we'll go to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
And that's motion carried. Thank you. Okay, any other questions or additions or removals of any of the items that are on this page?
I would like to discuss the 3-inch barrel fill bulk water
Okay,
in case there's a few that don't understand it. I am in agreement to doing the work on this. For one, it is a safety issue right now with having to do top fill. And with going with the 3-inch, it'll make it more efficient. It'll shorten up the lineup time and you'll get everybody through faster. But the priority to me is more the safety issue right now with the setup.
Okay.
So I would like to propose the motion to go ahead with a 3-inch barrel fill line at the bulk water station and the cost of $15,000 into the 2025 budget.
okay, thank you. Comments, Councilor Gustafson.
I do have a comment about that. How will it affect our that line item overall with our I know it's a capital project, but overall for the year on the amount of selling water, are we upping anything to kind of recoup any of that? Are we upping any of the rates? I know we had talked about the rates before, previous to that, but are we doing anything that kind of offsets that a little bit? Or that it's more, you know, the users that are paying this, not all of our ratepayers are paying for this.
Yes, certainly. I'll take a stab at that one through the chair to Councillor Gustafson. I think administration is committed to bringing back that bulk water rate to council with more additional information is what we were directed to do.
Yeah.
I think this is a good piece that we can then feed into that additional information that we bring back and look at what the cost recovery is on implementing a project like this and then recovering it back through fees. So yeah, I think this would certainly be an item that we bring back to council with those fees.
And maybe now's a good time to bring up too. I think that there's going to be some more rates and fees that come back to council for a decision that will have an impact on this budget.
Yeah.
Yes, through the chair. In December, council will see a report that will come back in relation to the fees and charges bylaw. Any proposed amendments to that fees and charges bylaw that are adopted by council will have a favorable impact to the bottom line of the 2025 budget.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Lambert.
I'm waiting to vote.
Yep. Okay, I have no comments on the bulk water 3-inch fill. Councilor Bang,
Questions?
Councilor Brennan.
Not on this one. I think it's worth it.
Okay, great. Then I will call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Hey, anything else for this page or are we moving on?
Through the chair, I have just one
Councillor
last,
Gustafson.
on the RV dump station, I know we had asked about, you know, what does it cost to implement this program of the user fee? But what was the actual? I think the question I had back quite a few months ago was, what was the cost of actually running that RV station prior to that? Did we go through a cost analysis on?
Sure, through the chair, Councillor Gustafson, not specifically as a cost analysis, it's not metered, so we don't know the volume that flows through the station there. Might be a good summer student opportunity to watch the station for a few hours each day and get an estimation of how many RVs are dumping and an estimation through that, but we don't know the volume that flows through that station.
I guess maybe that wasn't really the question I was asking. It was more of what is this the cost to maintain that station more than what is the volume that's going through there? Do we know what the cost to maintain that station? I know it's in conjunction with the, you know, the freshwater bill as well, because it's basically on the same land. I don't think there is much cost to it. I don't know.
Yeah, so certainly there's initial capital cost to install the station. Originally, it's fairly low maintenance. The water there does get winterized at the RV station, not bulk fill, but at the RV station it does get winterized. So there's some man hours that go into doing that each year to de-winterize it. The station itself though is fairly low maintenance and again integrated with the bulk water station. So any maintenance kind of goes on in the general area.
Yeah,
it kind of gets caught up in that, right? So.
And going back to cost recovery on, you know, if it does take $7,500, do we know that we can recover that within, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons, something like that?
Yeah, so certainly that would, we would look at that and the cost that we would charge for the service. Typical charge is $5. There is a licensing payment that would need to be made as well. There's a company that essentially you have a pay station that people tap their cards on, and there's a licensing fee to do that, right, at that station. So there's a licensing fee that needs to be paid each month. And then again, looking at recovery on that $7,500 investment to install the station and install a locking cap as well. So we would look at that in terms of the rate that would be charged in order to recover that within a reasonable time frame.
Yeah. And it could turn into a revenue center. So, you know, not much, but
I think ultimately we have fairly minor revenue, but
Every bit counts.
every little bit counts. You're right, Joe.
Okay, well, I'll say this. Currently, that one's unfunded. So we can make a motion to add it or make a motion to remove it from this budget.
Mayor, if I may, I would like to make a motion to add it to fund that project.
Okay, motion on the table. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Nothing from Councillor Brennan. Councillor Bang.
Nope.
Okay. You know, I'm in agreement with it as long as you know, we can recoup the costs from the capital project and from any of the fees that we would be collecting. I certainly wouldn't want to implement something where we don't recoup the money on it and we're, you know, bleeding money out the other end. Okay. Deputy Mayor.
I do have a question. Steve, it's probably to you. Who would maintain the equipment out there, like the card scan and everything? So if there's any issues with it.
we haven't looked into it specifically yet, but my understanding is it's a bit of a lease of that system. So the company that would lease the system, you know, to the town would, you know, again, there would be a licensing and a lease fee for that system each year. So we work with that company to maintain that system. We'd have to determine what the ownership, I guess, of the physical infrastructure would be for that system, but there is that licensing fee. So.
Okay.
To the chair, could we not piggyback that onto our existing debit system? I mean, it's just an Interact machine, right?
Through the chair to Councillor Lambert, that may be a possibility. There'll still be obviously a cost, each time you have an interaction at a pay station, right? There's a cost, to do
Right,
that. So I know Airdrie's model is the one that we had looked at, and they pay like a monthly licensing fee, to a company to kind of manage
Well,
that.
usually it's a lease fee for the equipment is what it
Yeah.
is, really is.
Yeah.
And so you people about that, like, if that malfunctions,
Almost $7.
let's say it malfunctions on a Sunday, who's gonna, you're gonna have somebody upset, they paid their $5 and the thing didn't unlock or whatever. Do we have somebody that's like on call or something that would end up having to go there for overtime hours or on-call hours?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Lambert, I don't think we've worked out those details quite yet.
Right. Have
Just
you talked to Airdrie about the system?
not specifically about the detailed day-to-day operations or
Okay,
anything like that.
well,
So,
I was just wondering if
Yeah.
it's like that it works well, that, I mean, everything breaks down, I know that, but I mean, sometimes costs of fixing it is more expensive than putting it in. Sometimes if it's not reliable, the cost of manpower to run out there every time it doesn't work right. I think those are things we have to look at. Not against it, I don't think that, I think people should pay for services that they use, particularly if they don't pay taxes here. But I'm just concerned that sometimes things don't work the way they're supposed to, and they end up costing you more than you had anticipated.
Okay, I think this is what I would say. I think to that, I think that if council decides to approve this tonight, it'll give administration some time to come up with those answers, and if they find that it's not viable, they can come back to council and say, we're not going to do this project because of these reasons. Is that fair?
Through the chair,
Councillor Gustafson.
I have a question. How do they pay for their water when they come and use the bulk bill? I know it maybe not be the same system, but it's, how do they just don't come and turn on a valve? Like they have to have a card, or what do they do? I don't even know.
So, yeah, through the chair, Councillor Gustafson, I might ask Director Nash and L Nash to jump in. But I believe they prepay for the bulk fill station, and then everyone has a code and an account, and then they go punch their code in at the bulk fill station, and they're able to fill up to their prepaid amount.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's correct.
So not quite the same system, but still, what if that malfunctions too? What do we do there?
So our water wastewater foreman and then the office staff do tackle that one. So,
They tackle that.
yeah.
Okay.
So, and perhaps we can look at a similar system, perhaps for the cap, right? It could be a prepay, right? But I think often we'd see, travelers, one-off travelers
Yeah,
coming to use the
they're just
station,
using
right?
card.
So,
Yeah.
we have longstanding account holders with the bulk fill station. So
Mhm.
I think, let administration maybe take that back and some of those questions and return to council with that. I think in terms of, maintenance costs through the year, those are things that we can track and we can adjust rates in the future as well to try and recover some of those costs as well if there are maintenance issues.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah. We have a parking lot. Yeah. Like the. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I just asked if we had a parking lot. So if we can't make a decision or whatever on an item, we can put it in the parking lot and have a decision about it later.
We haven't talked about parking lot for a few years.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, we do have a motion on the table. Is there any further discussion? Okay, I'll put it to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thank you, Amber and Steve. We're moving on.
Excellent. Our next asset category is asset assessment. The table is located on page 72 of your package, whereas the project sheets begin on page 105. The wastewater facility survey. Sludge and sediment accumulates within the wastewater treatment facility pond as part of the normal operations. This project will conduct a bathymetric sludge and sediment survey of the wastewater treatment facility ponds to determine the need for desludging. This project is funded through reserves. The Fire Services Master Plan. This is a two-phase project that can be completed all in 1 year or split into 2 consecutive years. For the purpose of this proposal, it is split between 2025 and 2026. Phase 1 is a community risk assessment, which provides a comprehensive analysis of the present and future risks within the town. The community risk assessment is a systematic process used to identify, evaluate, and prioritize potential risks that could impact the town as it relates to fire protection and safety. This is a critical first step in creating the future outlook of the town's fire services, which will provide further enhancement to the level of service for operational, training, and prevention purposes. The second phase of this project is the creation of a fire master plan, a comprehensive document which provides recommended pathways and initiatives to aid in mitigation of the identified risk priorities. These recommendations take into account multiple in-depth factors as they relate to present and future municipal growth, infrastructure, fire prevention, fire service operations, among others. The combination of these 2 documents serves as a roadmap for the development and enhancement of fire services, ensuring that we are better prepared to protect and serve the community both now and in the future. This project is funded through reserves. I'll break for comment.
All right. Questions for Amber?
Through the chair.
Councillor Brennan.
The Fire Services Master Plan, what level of involvement would our own fire chief be having in that? Or is that an outside contracted service? How did I miss that?
Through the chair to Councillor Brennan, it would be a third-party consultant.
Okay. Right on. Thank you.
My comment on fire services master plans are all great and wonderful when we use them. When we don't use them and they sit in a drawer, we've wasted $70,000. So I guess you can't really ask for a guarantee, but are there any assurances that this master plan will be realistic and not pie in the sky? And if we're going to use it.
To Mayor Harris, I think to your first point about maybe not a guarantee, but some assurance. If you look at the past or the 3 kind of assessments or plans or reviews that have taken place in my area in the last few years, being the Parks and Recreation Needs Assessment, the Social Needs Assessment, and the Fire Services Review that was done previously. All 3 of those documents continue to be used today. So would have every intention of making use of this document as well. And then another comment is that not only would inform the direction and development of the fire services as we grow, but it would also inform future development of the town when we're considering adding industrial areas, other, maybe more high density residential areas. So that helps council as well as administration understand what the various risks may be with what the risks may be with adding those types of developments, as well as the considerations that should be put into play if we are going to move forward in those directions. So I think it excuse me, it helps more than just one department in that matter. So as much of as a guarantee as I could give, I would have every intention of making use of that plan.
I liked how you talked about your track record. So yeah, that's a pretty good answer. So my other question is, do we have enough reserves currently to cover that master plan in 2025?
Through the chair, our reserve funding levels are in a position where we could fund both aspects of the plan. However, that could look, it might adjust how some of the transfers in our operating budget, where they sit right now this year, to ensure that we're maintaining those balances.
Okay, so those reserves aren't really just dedicated for this, they're just reserves and we could be using them somewhere else? And you need to adjust?
Right now, the reserve balances are quite loosely defined. And however, we do have certain reserves that are earmarked for life cycle asset maintenance and management purposes, not necessarily specifically for master plan.
So, okay. The CEO, Barney.
Maybe I can try to add a little bit of clarity. Just to be clear, when we identify reserves as a funding source, that we are not drawing from the reserves more than what's being contributed.
Right.
So the reserves at the end of 2025 will not be lower because of the capital budget. The contributions that we're making to the reserves meet and exceed the draws that we're taking from the reserves. So in essence, like Amber had alluded to, the funding will be there by virtue of the contributions through the operating budget.
Okay, so maybe I should change my question. Would it be better to do the master plan all in 1 year? And have it complete in 1 year? Or is it gonna cost us more to carry it over onto 2 years? So should we be doing it all in 1 year?
Through the chair, I think the if the project were approved through the budget process, it would be as a 2-year, the 2-year total. That's why the future capital costs are included for the $45,000, $45,100, because we wouldn't endeavor to begin the $33,000 of body of work without having that full contract secured, and just the timing could occur over, be split over fiscal years for funding.
I'll try to supplement it, and then if I'm still not clear, then maybe Director Nash can fill in. So this is a project, as I understand, that is more suited for a phased approach. Looking at the reason why it's split over 2 years is, one, potentially for cost and being able to distribute that over a longer period of time, but also it makes more sense to have the project roll out that way rather than wrapped all up into 1 year.
Okay, that's kind of the answer that's what I wanted to know. If you needed the funding all this year, and that would be better for you, or if the 2-phase approach is better. And if that's the case, then I'm good.
Yeah, as CAO Barney mentioned, they kind of go, they're in step 1, step 2 type thing. So, I mean, having all of the money allocated in 1 year, sure, that might be great, but I just don't know with the timeframes that it would actually occur in 1 year. So, we would likely endeavor to, as Amber had mentioned as well, to secure maybe the entire contract, maybe not, I don't know, but we could work it that way where it would just roll into the next one, but then that money would be allocated within the 2026 budget. So
Okay,
those would be details that we could.
okay, that's great. That's good explanation for me. I'm done. Thank you. Yeah,
Okay,
you
to
can continue, please.
continue. So now we come to our new asset category. The table is located on page 58 and the project sheets begin on page 113. Water meters for growth. This is an existing annual program to support the purchase and installation of new water meters in response to the town's residential and commercial growth. As new developments and properties are added to the community, the program ensures that each connection to the municipal water supply is equipped with a high-quality, accurate water meter, promoting efficient water usage and equitable billing practices. This project is reserve funded. Recycling and waste carts. This project is set up to purchase an additional 100 240-liter black carts, solid waste carts, and 100 240-liter blue recycling carts for replacement and to support new growth. This is also funded through reserves. Bike Skills Park and Pump Track. This project includes the construction of a bike skills park, which would be designed for riders of all ages and skill level, be constructed of dirt and include jumps, a pump track, and other obstacles. The specific location for this facility is yet to be determined, as it will form part of the discussions with council in early 2025 around the various vacant lands in town, working together to identify the most appropriate location for a facility such as this. This project is presented as being funded primarily by the town through reserves with an additional $15,000 secured through stakeholders. Administration will explore other partnership opportunities to assist with funding this project, which, if successful, will reduce the overall cost of this initiative for the town. AFRAX radio system. As part of the AFRAX radio communications changeover, this initiative will involve the continued replacement of older dated equipment. This project was initiated in 2024 to upgrade, enhance, and provide consistency of critical communications within the town's fire service operations, as well as communications with our mutual aid partners, and this is reserve funded. Motor pool vehicle. This vehicle is for use by town staff to complete work functions that require the use of a vehicle. This unit will be of a size that is economical yet sufficient enough for staff to move supplies and equipment around to various activities. These supplies and equipment such as tents, activity supplies, chairs, and tables. Further, this vehicle would be used by staff to perform tasks in town and to attend on-site inspections. It could also be used to travel outside of town for to local communities for meetings and other functions, including conferences and courses. The recommendation is to purchase a new vehicle, as it will come with full warranty, typically 3 years, 60,000 kilometer bumper to bumper, and 5 years, 100,000 powertrain warranty. And will have a longer useful life with the town. Alternatively, we can look at purchasing a slightly used model with 1 to 3 years of use that still has some warranty remaining and would still be reliable. This project reflects ongoing future operating costs such as registration, insurance, fuel, and maintenance costs, and would be funded through reserves. Stand-on blower. The procurement of a stand-on blower to primarily support effective snow clearing operations along railway, as well as to assist in clearing of pathways and other sidewalks throughout town. This is reserve funded. Are there any questions on these assets?
Great, thank you, Amber. Questions for Amber? Councillor Gustafson.
I don't know. Now that I'm here,
Yeah, thanks for coming.
I do apologize to everybody about my yesterday, but today I'm here. I'll start with the motor pool vehicle project. Do we think 55 is enough for what we were looking for? I don't know. I'm just kind of in the business, so I just, I got pretty good knowledge.
But I don't know if we're going to discuss if we're going to buy a Ford or a Dodge.
Whatever you want to buy. Do we think 55 is enough for what we want to buy?
You want-
Through the chair to Councillor Gustafson. I did do some browsing around through the internet on various websites for vehicles. The type of vehicle that we're kind of looking at and size is something like the Ford Explorer, GMC Terrain, I think it is.
Okay.
That size vehicle.
Yep.
Not a truck, not a just something that is like an SUV type vehicle that can be used more of a commuter type vehicle, but can also be used to transport some objects and some items around. So that's the type, and they were in that 50 to 55 range, obviously not getting all the bells and whistles and all that sort of stuff.
One thing I would like to do with council's support on this is, if we do go ahead with this, I would like to offer my expertise on this, but at arm's length as well, so that there's no conflict when it comes to getting the biggest bang for the buck for our community.
I think that something like this is probably just administrative and not really for council to jump in there. And yes, you have good expertise on that for sure, but I don't know. I think it's best to leave with administration.
Which is fair. Yep.
Okay. Great. Anything else on?
No,
other
nothing on
questions?
that one. It was just on the stand-on blower. I'm in agreement with however we can make things more efficient. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Councillor Lambert.
I'm sorry, I'm still mulling over the fire master plan. I'm not sure. We got radios, we got trucks, we got gear, we got, do we need a master plan right now?
Okay, you mull that one over and then we'll move on to deputy mayor for this topic.
Any of them?
Well, we're on this page, so let's talk
Okay,
about
all
this
right.
page.
So I do have a general question. I'm not sure this one might go to,
We'll ask your question in
might
the
go to
appropriate
Lindsay.
personal
Might go
answer.
to Yellow. So for the recycling, sorry, is it the recycling? No, sorry, the water meters. Is there a cost if you find that your water meter might be at fault? Is there a cost to the resident or the business owner for somebody to come out and inspect the meter?
Through the chair to Deputy Mayor Fox. So you're inquiring if somebody wants their meter replaced, or just for operations to come out and inspect the meter?
Okay, so I'll give you an example. So say I know my general usage and then all of a sudden it goes skyrocket. So if I call the town to ask them to come out and inspect the meter, would there be a cost to the resident or the business to do that?
Currently, there is not. That is a possibility. We're looking at that right now to include that in the fees and rates bylaw.
Okay,
So there may be an addition in December.
okay, that's my question. I do have my comment on the stand-on blower. So it's hard to tell by a photo how big that unit actually is. So how are they going to get it to all the different locations? Is it going to have to be trailered? And would it be more versatile to go with something a little smaller? Because I know they're probably going to use that equipment to also do the handicap parking spots that run all the way down Main Street, like with the black poles.
Through the chair to Deputy Mayor Fox. So operations was able to actually try out the blower a couple weeks ago. The supplier did bring it and they did have a 2-day trial with it. The machine is maybe a little longer than this table here. It is quite nimble and moves fairly well in small spaces, quite easy to drive. They would trailer it to Railway Street just because we don't want them traveling. It moves fairly slowly, so we don't want them traveling on Lot Avenue through the industrial traffic to Railway Street. But once on Railway Street, it would move very efficiently up and down the street there. Based on the demonstration that staff has had with the machine, they do feel it'd be a very effective way to clear snow much more effectively and quickly along Railway Street, especially the bulbs.
Okay, so would that 24,000 include the trailer that they would have to buy to transport it? Or was that going to be an additional cost on top of the 24,000 for the blower?
To the chair to Deputy Mayor Fox, we have a trailer already to move equipment if we need to. So yeah, it would just be a little bit of additional time in the morning to get it secured to our trailer and bring it to Railway and offload it.
Okay, So I do have another question as well. So did they only go to one place to look at pricing on these, or have they priced it out? To me, I think 24,000 is a lot of money for I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it, a glorified snow blower, right? So I'm thinking we could get something a little less expensive that would do the same job if it's only like this wide. You see where I'm going with this?
For sure, Deputy Mayor Fox. Yes, we have been working specifically with one supplier on these. They're a bit unique machines, but we have been working with one supplier that's local to the area. Not local to Crossville necessarily, but local to the Southern Alberta area on this.
Okay, I'm not opposed, I will say that. I'm just questioning the cost of it.
Sure, and if I may, I think CAO Barney has something to add.
Thank you through the chair. Director Altina, I believe there were some specific characteristics of this unit that differentiates it from your typical snow blower. So it does not have that rotating blade that we would see resulting damage to the infrastructure on railway. It also has tires, I believe, that it runs on, or a track system that we needed to find something that would reduce the potential for damage to the infrastructure on railway as well. And that's the challenge that we ran into repeatedly in the past. And I believe that's why this specific unit is one that was explored more robustly, just because of the features that it had and the potential for it to damage infrastructure or
That's
not.
right, because we have those bricks
Yes.
instead of smooth concrete. Okay, thank you.
No, thank you for the supplemental.
How much does 24,000 go to remove the bricks and
Yeah.
lay some concrete?
Shovel.
I suspect the 24,000 would not remove and replace the
Probably
brick
not.
effectively.
All right. Any more questions on this page?
No, this page.
All right. Counselor Bang?
No, it just looks like the machine we used at the golf course to blow the leaves off to the side with. Just curious how it works.
Maybe they'll give you a trial ride.
Yeah,
Counselor Brennan, anything?
Through the chair. On the bike skills park and pump track. So this one, maybe I'm misunderstanding, but the 115,000 gets it done, or we need more support. I know it was said, but I'm having a tough time remembering. The 115,000 gets it done, or we also need people to help out with that as well.
I can take that.
Okay,
one.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Through the chair to Councillor Brennan, I anticipate that the 115,000 would get it done.
Oh, okay.
Being that the town would put in the 100,000, the 15,000 will try and seek other supporters
Okay.
to complement that.
Right.
And then also just keeping in mind too that, there is, if there's somebody else out there, if we end up getting more money, we can do more with the park. But
sure.
I anticipate that amount will get the park done.
Is this a project that we could see going into other years because we want to keep the ball rolling on funding and see how much we can get for that? Or is it we
No.
didn't meet our deadline, we didn't meet our amount and we are going to cut it off and just build what we can afford? No?
I want to say no to that. Sorry.
Yeah, I would say we would
Yeah, I know
endeavor.
that's been a part of the discussion here tonight, but that's just, I'm just like, hopefully that doesn't happen, that it keeps getting.
No, we would endeavor to, that's the budget we have to work with. And we build it to that. And then, if down the roads, it's like, okay, we got room to expand, then maybe we can do that. But
Okay.
115 would be the number we're looking for.
Right on. Appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you. So more of a comment on the bike skills park and pump track. That's we're building basically a dirt track. That comes with some high maintenance costs. I would like to see us build that track, but work on a grant to match it up so that we can actually pave it and have something a little more permanent with less maintenance costs on it. Because every time it rains and kids go on that track, there's going to be a lot of maintenance that has to be done on it.
Yeah, and we can certainly look at options for that.
That's right. And I'm not saying it has to happen both at the same time. If it does, that's great. But if the paving has to happen like next year through a grant or whatever that looks like, perfect. On the motor vehicle, I'm happy actually that, we can do something, so that staff aren't using their own vehicles and they're at their own cost to get from point A to point B. And I know that, Steve and Sherry, through inspections and permits and everything else, will probably be making good use of that vehicle, so. I'm in favor of that one as well. I think the bike skills park is a must. We have to give something back to our community. It's been a long time coming, and I'm happy that we're following the recreation needs assessment and giving something back to the community that they've been wanting for a long time. And the stand-up blower or stand-on blower. We've talked about these bumps and snow blowing to downtown since I've been on council. I think we funded and tried different things almost every year. So I'm hoping that this is the answer. And that we can have one person out there on a stand-up blower, getting the job done a little more efficiently than having, 4 to 6 people out there with blowers on their back and doing that where they can be doing other things. So hopefully this is it. Thank you. On to the next one. Everyone's good.
Through the chair, I just have one
Go
more
ahead.
comment on the water meter growth.
Mhm.
Is, and I'm understanding this correctly, that the meters are wholly owned by the town all the time, so. Your mention, Lindsay, was that, we were gonna look in the fees and bylaws, how we can do some cost recovery on that as well. Are you talking about the meters themselves? Or, I don't know if there's a model that, say like Atco Gas uses, because, they use a meter, right? Is there what model do they use for cost recovery on like their gas meter or the Fortis on their meters to the houses as well? So,
Through the chair to Councillor Gustafson, for this water meter growth is for the new houses. So when a builder builds a house, they pay for that water meter
okay,
at that time.
gotcha.
So
Okay.
we have to have the supply in order for them to purchase it. So that's how that
Yes.
goes. Yeah. So
Okay,
they pay.
so
for
they
the
do
meter.
pay for that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's our cost recovery.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. On to the next one.
Our final asset category are new projects and/or initiatives. You can find the table on page 59 and the project sheets begin on page 127. Safe Roads Improvement Program. This program is aimed at enhancing pedestrian safety, accessibility, and traffic flow throughout the community. With a focus on upgrading pedestrian crossings, this program identifies high traffic areas, school zones, and intersections with elevated foot traffic to implement safety improvements, creating safer, more accessible pathways for residents. This project reflects community feedback and is funded through reserves. Placemaking Initiative, Downtown Crossing. At the October 1st council meeting, a report was accepted by council that highlighted components of a placemaking plan for downtown. The project included multiple components, including a concept identified as Downtown Crossing, which focuses on the design and construction of a central gathering and event space that serves as a hub for community interaction, local events, and cultural expression. The project in its entirety is anticipated to span over multiple years. However, the initial phase for 2025, including site selection and preparation, the design phase, and the initial components of the construction phase. Future phases would see an enhanced build-out of the area in a manner that supports community need and capacity. This project is not included in or funded in the 2025 capital budget. Food Cycler Program. Food Cycle Science is a Canadian company that has developed a device the size of a bread making machine that uses electricity to quickly compost household food waste into dry and ready to apply soil additive in less than 8 hours. The Food Cycle program is proposing a pilot project involving 100 households within the town of Crossfield. The funded pilot program is based on a cost subsidy model between food cycle science, the town of Crossfield, and the resident. The pilot program will run for 12 weeks, and at the end of the pilot program, participants will fill out an exit survey, providing their review of the program and any other feedback. The survey results will be used to evaluate the program's success. At Food Cycle Science provides documentation for training and education to the residents, which will come paired with each device. Technical support and troubleshooting, where applicable, is handled directly by Food Cycle Science. The funding noted will support 100 residents in accessing the pilot project at a discounted rate. This project is currently not funded in the 2025 capital budget. And I also mentioned STARS funding request in this table. However, it was discussed at yesterday's council meeting with a motion that was eventually defeated.
Okay, thank you. All right, discussion on this page.
Through the chair.
Councillor Brennan.
I don't know if, actually, I guess it's unfunded anyway, so I was just gonna comment on the food cycler program. If
Yeah,
it's,
you can comment on it.
it seems everyone's paying for it, but only 100 people get it. It doesn't seem like it's something really worth it for the town. That's all.
I got nothing to add. I concur with Councilor Brennan.
Yeah, the food cycler program is not something I would support.
No, me either. I think the money could be allocated somewhere else.
Mhm.
Councillor Duff, anything?
Just a couple of questions on the first two there on the,
Sure.
are these programs and initiatives, are they run by our own internal staff, or are these by third-party contractors?
For the safe roads and
For the
for the
Safe Roads
placemaking
program.
initiative, yeah.
Is that internal stuff that we're doing?
Through the chair to Councilor Gustafson, so the Safe Roads Improvement Program, that would generally be run through internal staff unless we had a very unique specific need to hire a consultant to provide some expertise.
Okay,
But we do have some expertise on staff that can generally run that program most of the time.
okay, and the same with the placemaking initiative for downtown. That's
Um,
internal as well.
I would defer that one to CAO Barney, who's leading that initiative.
Thank you, through the chair. So this is one definitely that will be a collaborative effort with our internal staff, incorporating staff from across the organization, most notably in our Parks Department, would be key to moving that project forward.
Perfect. I guess where I was getting at is our own people know our town the best,
Mhm.
and hopefully we utilize our own people for that. Okay. And I'm good without the food cycler program
Yes, I would.
or STARS. So
Through the chair, could I make the motion to
No,
remove that?
actually, Councillor Lambert
Oh,
was
I'm
just going to make a motion.
I'd like to move to remove the food cycler program in the amount of $11,500 from the 2025 capital budget.
Great. I know the answer to this, but any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Just to be clear, Councillor Gustafson, the placemaking initiative is currently unfunded. So that means it is not included in the 2025 budget. So if that's an initiative that council wishes to see added, there would have to be a motion to add that item because it is unfunded.
Yeah. So I have a couple questions first before we get there.
Mhm.
So just a little clarification on the Safe Road Improvement Program. Maybe it's just me, but I'm having a hard time understanding exactly what that is.
Sure, to the chair, to the mayor. So this funding would go to support typically pedestrian-oriented activities within the town. So you may have seen at the end of Railway Street, the crossing, there's no crossing to the Dairy Queen, right? There's a desire from the community, I believe, to install the flashing beacons there.
Mhm.
There's a cost to those. So that program would support something like that project. Or improved crossing on Smith Avenue. A lot of kids travel north to the schools every morning. On Smith Avenue, there's a desire again to see an improved crossing there as
Okay.
well. So we would look to have some of those improvements throughout intersections throughout town and crossings throughout town with that pedestrian and active
That's
mode
great.
focus.
I'm actually happy with that. At initial glance here and reading it, it looked like it was more programming than purchasing the items we need to safely cross the road and those types of things. So
Yeah,
thank you.
and to the chair, there may be some minor assessments that we need to do, or some traffic counts that we need to carry out that we need assistance of a third party, but ultimately it is to install some of those capital assets to improve that safety.
Great, thank you.
Through the chair, I have a question for Steve. So are you going to use solar powered ones again, like we have on Limit?
Through the chair to Deputy Mayor Fox, I don't think we've got that far. Solar power ones are pretty common. I guess if we have operational issues with the current ones on Limit, we will of course take that into consideration. But solar power ones are fairly common throughout most municipalities, just for ease of operation, lack of wiring and everything like that. So
It was just a general question.
Okay, now on to the placemaking initiative downtown.
Through the chair, did we not already okay that with Norma?
We're gonna defer this question to CEO Barney.
Through the chair. So this item did come forward in October, I believe it was. The item at that time was accepted for its information by council and deferred to the budget deliberations. So that's why it's coming back here now to allow more conversation between council and discussion as to whether or not council has an appetite to move forward with that initiative.
Through the chair, there's no grant funding like we got initially for this program?
That is something that we could potentially explore. I would say at this point, we don't have anything secured as grant funding for that initiative. As with all of the projects that are approved by council this evening, administration will be looking to secure grant funding where possible to have a favorable impact to the budget as it's presented. But it isn't something that we have a clear grant funding source for that initiative at this point.
My apologies. I just thought Norma had said that we still had money.
I got this one. Yeah, so this initially, I think, was part of the NRED grant that we got through that economic development program. And that money was used to for the outcomes and results of through that grant through engagement. And this is one of the outcomes that came out of there.
Yes, to supplement Mayor Harris's comment, there are some components that the grant funding can help support, primarily as it relates to wayfinding and signage towards components. This is an additional component around a space in the downtown area that can serve the purposes that were identified by CFO Ouellette. So it's an additional piece over and above what the grant funding itself was intended to support.
Through the chair, can we not combine that then with our town-owned property thingy that we're doing? That would be,
All the
that would-
lands and.
yeah, that would be
everything
the
else.
technical
Yeah.
term for it, the vacant land
thingy.
thingy.
Yeah.
Through the chair, you're absolutely correct, Councillor Lambert. Administration's intent, as we had alluded with council previously, is in early 2025. Those are discussions we will be having around the utilization of town-owned land. This evening, council will be looking at approving some of the capital projects, one being the bike skills and pump track. This, if it's approved, is another example, and that will form part of those discussions when we looked at what would be the ideal location for some of those assets in the community.
What's the impact if we don't do that this year? Like if we don't fund the placemaking initiative this year? Is it a significant impact? Like what would happen if we pushed it back to next year? the 25,000 if we didn't do that initiative in 2026 or 2025, sorry.
Well, currently it's not built into the budget.
It's not.
Um, so it wouldn't have any impact to the bottom line that we'll be sharing with council around the total budget itself.
Yeah, not to the budget, but like you guys want to do this in 2025, but what if we don't? What's the impact to the community or the town or?
Well, the impact of delaying it means that ideally, probably the location where something like this would end up is the two pieces of property that the town came in to possession of here over the last year. It would see, moving forward with it, would see increasing the beautification of that area and utilization of it in a meaningful way that helps draw individuals to the downtown area and support some of the businesses in that manner. However, delaying it means that the lots likely would sit as is unless there was another purpose identified for them, but there wouldn't be a funding source attached, so they would likely stay as is until 2026.
Through the chair, though, do we know, I mean, we don't know where it's going to go. You have a possibility, but we don't know what we're going to put there. We don't know, are we going to put bleachers? Are we going to put this? Are we going to put that? Like, until we secure exactly where it's going to be and know what we're going to put in there, it doesn't, I would rather see that money go to reserves or part of that money go to reserves for that purpose rather than spend it or not spend it this year and have to carry it forward for the next year because we don't know what we're doing precisely.
Anyone else?
Through the chair, I do have a little comment on that. I do agree with you to a point there, but I do think there needs to be an allocation of funds, whether we use it or not. Like, it's not necessary that it does go forward in 2025. You're just asking for a possibility if, am I correct in saying that?
My concern is though, is that when we were talking about carrying forward money for projects that didn't get completed in this year into the next year, we had issues with that.
And we do.
And so if we put that 25,000 into the budget as a capital item and don't use it, it's then going to end up as a carry forward, where if we put it into reserves for a downtown project, then we don't worry about it being a carry forward and it's just there when we need it.
So you want a guarantee like I did?
Yeah.
You're gonna be guaranteed
So,
that this project will be completed in 2025.
so through the chair, like what Joe is looking for is maybe instead of taking that 25 and dedicating it towards this project, put it into reserves instead, or add it to reserves in case. Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, like, I mean, then it's there. Then it's there for when we have a solid plan for what we're going to do. I don't like putting, like I said, I don't like putting it into the budget, not having anything to do with it and having to do a carry forward because we were concerned about carry forwards on other projects. I mean, sometimes it's inevitable that you'll have a carry forward on a project because it's a big project. But yeah, I would rather see it go to reserve than be form part of the capital budget.
Okay, so Amber, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I think the way that, through the chair, the way that this project currently stands, it is unfunded. So theoretically, the funds will remain in a reserve so long as we don't move to add this to the budget and fund and include a funding source. So I think if we do nothing, we will satisfy that, your wish.
But this one doesn't say it's funded by reserves.
But
It's unfunded.
it's unfunded, so there hasn't been a funding source identified. But
And if we were going to use it, if we were going to put it into the budget, then we would have to identify a funding source, which would probably be reserved.
which would likely be reserved.
So
Yeah.
let's just leave it alone.
leave it alone.
Through the chair, yeah, so kind of a suggestion on it too. If we just leave it, I'd like to see more of a plan. Like, what is the plan for this space? And once there's a plan, we could also maybe bring some of our stakeholders in and they could purchase the benches with having the plaque on it. This was donated by this business or that business, and that potentially could give more funding towards that project. If there was more thought put into it, more planning.
Okay, so I'm here, we're doing nothing with this. one.
Yep, we're doing nothing right now.
Through the chair, just to be clear that that money is to develop a plan. Is it
No.
not?
No.
I think it's to implement a placemaking initiative.
So through the chair, it is in part to develop the plan in
Yes.
collaboration with
Mm.
some staff.
Yeah.
Acknowledging then that the build out of that plan will happen over multiple years. So there wouldn't be significant, I guess, infrastructure in addition to that part of the property in the downtown area, other than maybe some beautification, some addition of grass, so that it maybe some seating space, those sorts of things.
Mhm.
And over a number of years, then that could be elaborated upon and built upon.
So am I understanding?
Oh, hang on.
Sorry. I was trying to.
Let's
it
keep
went through my
order.
head. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Thank you.
Okay, so is it my understanding that 25,000 is not towards a project, it's essentially to develop the project? That
To
makes
plan
sense?
for it?
To plan for it, yeah.
Through the chair, not in its entirety. I'm just saying
Okay.
a portion of that would help us with building out what that plan would look like. Not a lot, because we'll be using a lot of our internal resources to help build that out for sure. But the remainder would be to put some actual infrastructure in place there that would start the process of making that space usable.
Okay.
Okay, we all good?
Russ?
Yeah.
Through the chair, if I could just add a little comment too, just something for consideration as well, that is just the unknown of the potential contamination of those lots too, which could impact what maybe could be done in the future on the, if this downtown crossing goes in that location. So that's just another item to consider as well too. So
Yeah. We'll
Sorry.
discuss that piece when the downtown crossing, when we get to the plan. We'll leave that alone for tonight.
Mhm.
All right, so we're leaving that one. We're good
Sure.
and we're moving on.
We're done.
Well, I think what I've heard so far from council is that there's been a number of motions made tonight to add projects to the capital plan. That includes the Emery Park upgrade, the RB dump pay for use, bulk water 3-inch fill line, and the and there was a motion made to remove the food cycler from
Yeah.
the plan.
It's gone.
Is there anything else with the capital plan that the council wants to discuss?
No, and I believe that Counselor Barney has
Counselor
oh,
Barney.
for crying out loud. CEO Barney has an update that you can go over with us and show us on what those changes look like,
Okay, got it.
and what the budget impact is.
Okay,
We've been live updating the budget as council has made motions. And CFO Ulat will share with council the monthly impact of the average resident of the budget that's been presented to council and represents the motions that were made and the inclusion of those projects. We'll also show you what that cost looks like per 100,000 of assessment on a residential property and the estimated non-residential monthly impact. We should note that this impact that you're seeing here right now will also be impacted by some of the decisions that will be made between now and a final budget approval in 2025. Most notably, when the fees and charges bylaw comes forward, any adjustments there will have a favorable impact on this as well. If there's any grants that administration is able to access or any funding sources outside of what's been presented this evening, that can be confirmed prior to the final approval, that will also be reflected in the bottom line in a favorable manner.
Mm.
So I'll leave it with you.
So at this point in time, what we see for a monthly ratepayer impact is a $16.06 increase for an average residential home. That's based on an assessment value of $390,000. Or that translates into an increase of $4.12 per month per $100,000 of assessed value for residential customers or ratepayers, and it translates to a $14.46 monthly increase for a non-residential taxpayer. The budget and the tax burden distribution in the 2025 budget is split 68% borne by residential taxpayers and 32% by our non-residential ratepayers. And again, it reflects that 1.4 tax ratio that is based on council's budget policy 2023-06. So that's where that is the.
So we started with the budget, and before we added these, we were at just over $12 for average residential for $390,000. Was that what we started with? Like just over $12 a month? 11.98. Okay. Thank you. So really, even if we add this, the impact isn't that great. I mean, I think people spend more on buying a coffee every day. Or, for 10 days out of the month.
Yeah.
Than they would on the taxes here, if we were to break it down into an increment like that.
Through the chair. We don't have the completed assessment in yet, though.
Right.
We do?
No.
No.
So that's why, sorry. Through the chair, that's why we're saying this is an estimation of
Right.
impact, because
So
once we get our
we're kind of
assessment.
working off last year's assessments, and
With
we
stuff-
all know what's happened to house prices, so.
Yeah.
Hopefully, our assessment's gone up a little bit, which will impact this to a small degree.
Yes, there are a number of factors for sure
Yeah.
that have the ability to impact it. But this will give council a bit of a high level assessment of what they can anticipate the
Yeah,
impact.
and if
being.
it's not bad at using last year's numbers, it should be better than using this year's numbers.
Councillor Gustafson.
I don't disagree, through the chair, I don't disagree with you, Mayor, on the coffee analogy.
Yeah.
But are we showing our residents value in the choices that we're making tonight
Yeah.
for that, $16 increase per month? Is that, are we showing good value? I'm not sure yet. I'm not convinced. It's an increase. It's substantial. I think it is. You can say, it's only $5 more a month on an average home. Still, that's overall, like if you look at, what is that in a percentage increase? So $5 that is an increase.
Well, yeah, it's obviously, it's an increase for sure. I wouldn't call it a substantial increase. Like, for example, if we compare ourselves to other municipalities, even right now, on what our tax increase would be, or what our rate has been in the past, and we went over some of that last night.
Mhm.
We're lower, we're
Way
the
lower.
lowest to our comparables currently.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I do have, and I don't know if this would kind of sway our judgment any at all, but maybe a suggestion is, yeah, I see we see the end impact on the decisions that we're making. Can we see the impact going through, like, you know, if you make this decision and you want, $150,000 hit on the budget, this is what it's worth to our ratepayers. You know, where I'm getting with this. Like, you guys are doing it in the background right now, but in the budget, we can't see what that does until you do that math.
So
Go ahead.
through the chair to Councillor Gustafson, we did include a little bit of a mention of that in the package. Basically, for every $1,000 of additional budget, that's I'm sorry,
100,000.
100,000.
what did I say? For every $100,000 added to the budget, it correlates to about a $3.54 monthly increase to a residential taxpayer based on that average assessed value.
Yeah, and you did that at the start of the present, or where did you do that? Right at the start of the presentation?
I didn't
Of the capital?
specifically bring that up today, but yeah,
Yeah.
so for your information, yeah, that's what about $100,000, the impact of that.
Yeah, I think my bigger concern is not really from the town, but the school assessment. And based on our growth rate and those types of things, what does that look like? Do we know?
Mm-mm.
Not yet. Because high growth communities seem to be hit a little bit harder than no growth.
Through the chair, the one thing I will note is that and we will adjust a slide because there's been adjustments made to the budget this evening to share with council next week, but the greatest portion of additional cost that the town is incurring over and above prior years relate primarily to growth and costs associated with growth, whether that's additional resources, those sorts of things. There's the most notable piece is around asset management and really putting that more focused approach on maintaining our assets to ensure that they're in operational order, that we're doing our proper due diligence to ensure that that they're contributing to the quality of life of residents and ensuring the sustainability of the community. So those are the two biggest contributing factors. Of course, there are others like inflation. We have some one-time project pieces, but those are the two most significant contributing factors to the increase that we're seeing.
And we don't have to borrow $1 billion.
Yeah. Okay, anything else from council? Anything else from administration?
I just have closing remarks left.
Okay, I guess we're moving to closing remarks.
Well, that was basically a pleasure to present the 2025 operating budget on behalf of administration and capital budget tonight to council, and I've really enjoyed the questions and all of the interaction that we've had in this last couple of meetings. So thank you very much for all of your attention.
That's great. I said it last night, but I'll say it again. This is the best budget we've ever been presented since we've been on council. It was very thorough and easy to understand, not only for us, but when we do our budget book that goes out to the residents so that we can be transparent and clear about the budget. I think that it'll provide them with a really great understanding of how the budget works and what we're doing and I think in answer to a little bit to Councillor Gustafson's question about providing value to residents too, I think that'll bring some clarity to our residents as they go through the budget book on the value that they would be getting for their tax dollars.
Thank you very much.
All right. I guess that's it. So yes, CEO Barney.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. So just to be clear, council or administration will take the results of the discussions from council both yesterday and this evening. We will make the adjustments as motioned by council, and we'll come back to the council meeting on Tuesday, November 19th with the final provisional budget for council's consideration and approval.
Great. Okay, motion to adjourn.